Real investors. They're not gurus. They're not coaches. They're actual investors that hit the streets every day looking for their next deal. It's been a while since we had a real investor on, but that's what we're doing today on the Sub2Deals Show. Hey, Sub2ers, welcome to this episode of the Sub2Deals Show, where we talk about all things subject to. If you're listening to our podcast on Apple or Google or any of those other podcast programs, we'd like to invite you to check us out over at our YouTube channel at sub2tv.com. You can listen to our podcast there, but you can also see our smiling faces and watch all the other videos that we put out each and every week on creative finance and Sub2 investing. And if you're looking to get started in creative financing, you can check out our $7 coaching, $7 a month, the cost of a latte. I'm telling you, I'll answer your questions personally. We'll get you exposed to creative finance, learn what Sub2 is all about, learn how you can buy all the houses that you want without banks, cash, credit, or any of that stuff. It's really affordable. If you find a better deal anywhere on creative finance training, let me know, because I want to be involved in that. Guys, today we're talking to one of our Sub2 Max students. It's been a while since we had a real investors episode on our podcast, and real investors are always a lot of fun to talk to. They're actually out there. They don't sell courses. They don't sell coaching. They're just out there every day trying to find deals. They're just real investors. That's why we call them that. So today we're going to invite Ryan in. Hey, Ryan, good to see you.
Hey, what's up, William?
Great to have you on today. Ryan is one of our Sub2 Max students down in Largo, Florida. He says that's right near Tampa. So real close to Tampa and Tampa Bay. Ryan, we're happy to have you on here today. Tell everybody who you are. Tell everybody a little bit about you and what you do.
Hey, well, yeah, thanks for having me. I mean, I'm nothing special. I mean, to start out with, I do some wholesaling, some flipping down here, looking to start buying, and actually holding. That's what kind of brought me to you guys. I started out I was a mechanic for almost 20 years. I started sweeping up shops, and that, I don't know if you've ever been a mechanic or even been in a shop. It's not a nice, clean place. It's not a place where you want to spend 12 hours a day. And I was working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, usually. Then I kind of, I enjoyed being a mechanic. It was actually a lot of fun because I got to work on limousines. So I specialized in limousines, and thought that was really cool, and thought I'd found my calling every day of the week except for payday. Then it wasn't really my calling. When you're working 60 hours a week for, I think it was like $350 a week I would make. It was not livable.
Right.
So I grow with that business and get to where it's like a decent amount of money, and start getting tired of being cold in the winter, because I was up in New Jersey before we moved down here. I hated the cold. Hated being out in the heat, in the hot, you're working on burning hot cars, and the cold, you're working on snow cars. And it's just, right. I mean, none of that is fun. So, although I loved the place I worked, it wasn't it. So I'm like, I got to do something.
Right.
So, I don't even have to get into this, but I mean, I got in a car accident, and it was like 4 years of my life, surgeries. And through that process of, not being able to really get off the couch, because it was literally 4 straight years of surgery, get healed, surgery, get healed, surgery, get healed. I picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad, like literally I think every investor in the entire planet picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad. I said, that's it. I didn't even know what the word entrepreneur was. I was like, that's exactly what I'm going to be. That's me. That was my new identity. And So I read that, I read Think and Grow Rich, and I'm like, cool, I'm ready to take on the world. And I go out and I'm like, I'm gonna go start businesses and all that. Had no idea, never even been to college, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized quickly that, it doesn't just work like that. I don't just say it and I have it.
Right.
And I find another job as a limo mechanic at a shop. Absolutely greatest place I ever worked, like actual as a job. I got to really kind of make my own hours. I took care of everything, but I was terrified of talking to people. Right. So didn't have to order my parts. Just literally went in. There was a list of work that needed to be done. Got it done. Went home. Mm-hmm. Working that a while. Still not even enough money to really like afford a house or anything crazy. Just love what I do. Right. I had fun every day. And was probably the most comfortable I'd ever been. Just grateful to be back actually working.
Right.
So I going along and I'm like, this just ain't, eventually I want to grow up and, be an adult. So I'm like, I gotta do something. I go back to, I'm like, that's right. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm gonna do something. Mm-hmm. So boom, Bigger Pockets pops up. I'm like, that's it. That's what I'm gonna be. I'm gonna flip houses. I'm gonna flip houses. And now my days were usually, between 9 and 12-hour days working at that shop. So I just threw on Bigger Pockets podcast. I started at episode 1, which I think was, I don't even know when it started, but it was so far out of what the real estate, world was like that I had zero clue what they were talking about. Mm-hmm. I listened to episode 1 through, it was either 305 or 309. And I'm like, this is it. I mean, they covered everything. They covered how you get money, how you handle problems, how you go to closing. I don't know what a title company was. I didn't even know how you get a loan for anything like that, let alone like actually close on the property and rehab it and sell it.
Right.
But they covered all of that. You get money from IRAs, you get money from retirement accounts, and that's how you do it. Right. You go and ask the people around you, and that's how you become rich. It's
right.
Like, cool.
Right.
I'm rich.
So you read these books and you found the website, and that's how you got into real estate being the vehicle that you were going to use. Now, I know we talked at the last mastermind a little bit. You told your story about your first deal and the process for it. And that's where you learned that even though you follow the sequence of podcast episodes, a few important pieces get left out along the way. So tell us about your first deal. How I mean, did it work like all the courses and webinars say? You bought the house and then a couple of weeks later you're at the closing table collecting a check. Did it work out like that for you?
I mean, I made it to the closing table. Right. I wasn't the same person at the beginning, but somebody showed up at that closing table to collect that check.
Right.
It sure wasn't the person that started. Mm-hmm. So, I get to that episode, and for anybody out there that ever thinks that they can't start, just do it. But so I get to episode whatever it was, 3 something, and I'm like, I got this. So I knew that there was this guy that came and did work. He would do like hardscapes, which is kind of like the I don't even know what you call it. It's just hardscapes, like kind of landscaping, but where you do it like I don't know, like rock. Mm-hmm. Landscapes out in your yard, stuff like that. And I knew he flipped houses. And I knew that every time my parents like contacted him, he's like, yeah, I'm in Italy. I'll be back in a month, or I'm in Europe. I got my family over there for the month. I'll contact you when I get back. And I'm like, he's living the life that I want. Mm-hmm. So I knew he was coming over to do something. I'm like, yo, dude, I want to flip a house. How do I get started? And he was like, well, obviously joking. It's funny you made the joke about the coach, because he's like $10,000 and I'll show you how to flip a house. And I was like, I had like $800 in my account. I'm like, $10,000? That's all I need? I can probably find $10,000. So I guess he was waiting for me to react, whether I'd actually say okay or I need time, whatever. And he said, no, you know what? I'm joking. I have this house. My buddy's selling it for like $55,000. It's kind of a perfect first flip. It should be nice and easy, nothing crazy, no moving walls, no nothing at all. Just a couple bathrooms, a kitchen, paint and floor, and you'll be in and out. I'm like, that's cake. I mean, I heard investors talking about that. That's like a 2-week job. That's in and out. So he goes, meet me over there we'll walk it, make sure you like it, and we'll set the closing date and close in a few weeks, and you can have it. So I meet him over there. We walk it. He goes, yeah, look, here's the bathroom. It needs both bathrooms. I'd redo it. It needs some windows. Needs the kitchen, and we're good. And he's like, and then you can relist it. It should be nice, pretty easy flip, and you probably be 30 grand into it and be done. And I was like, cool, sold, easy. Now I'm like, where do I get money for this? I don't even know where I get money from this. So I go to my mom, and I'm like, hey, listen, Ma, I want to flip houses. Do you want to partner with it? She goes, sure. She'd heard me, like, she was like, oh, you did a lot of research. You listen to a lot of podcasts. I sold her on the fact that I could flip houses. Right. So I convince her. She pulls money out of one of her retirement accounts, not knowing that you're actually supposed to lend straight out of the retirement account or any part of that process. I just knew that you had to get money from a retirement account, and that's what funded your flips.
Right.
So throughout that process, we learned that pretty much she had to pay more than what we made on this deal just to pull that money out from both taxes and whatever that the penalty is for pulling your retirement out early. So we get the closing. Of course, getting that money out, pulling 60 grand or whatever it was out of a retirement account isn't a small process to just straight up pull it out of your account. So that took like almost a month and a half. We're like, I don't know if we're ever going to actually get this off the ground. So we get the closing. I'll never forget, it was the day after my mom's birthday. We go there, get the key. She turns around. She goes, here's the key. We signed the paperwork. Here's the key. And I go over to the house, and I'm like, I walk in. All you can smell is that old, like, 70s, not mothball, but the old house smell. And I walk in there, and there's one little easy or lazy boy recliner and this little like 70s lamp in there. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know where I get a kitchen from. Do I just go and order a kitchen? Who puts it in? And then I'm like walking around, I'm looking at the windows, and I'm like, I can't even open up this window. How do I put the windows in? I don't know how to measure a window. I'm like, well, maybe I'll just start by pulling up the carpet.
Right.
I ain't even got a utility knife. I'm like, so I'm like, Google. I think I Googled, where do you buy a utility knife and screwdrivers? And I'm like, and this is me. I was so confident until I walked in that door. Like, I'm like, I've taken apart cars in pieces. I can do anything. A house is the same problem. So I walk in there. I'm like, oh my God, I just wasted all my mom's retirement money. There's no way I'm going to be able to finish this. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know how to pull up carpet. I never even pulled up carpet. How do I, where do I start? So then I'm like, I think I literally just like kicked the wall. Cause I saw that on a TV show that you had to just kick the wall. And that's the fun part. That's starting. and then here comes Britt. Comes in with a pizza and I think like a $5 bottle of champagne. Like, hey, now we're rich. We're starting our new life. Let's celebrate. So we sat there. I'm putting on this smile, like celebrating. Like, hey, listen, I got this covered. I got all these problems figured out. Meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, I just wasted everybody's time. I'm gonna let everybody down. What did I just get myself into? Right. So I'm still working full time, so I would switch my schedule, working where I would work. We'd go to the gym at like 4 to 5 in the morning, work about 5:30 to like 3:30, 4 o'clock every day, and then work on that house until like 10 o'clock every night. And then on the weekends, we'd be there 8 o'clock until like 10 o'clock. And thank God for Britt. She was there with me the whole time through that process.
So you guys did this rehab yourself. You didn't really hire it out. I mean, you guys were going to do it yourself.
Well, we did at the beginning. Mm-hmm. We got about 4 or 5 weeks in, and all we had got done, is I got the kitchen ripped out. I got plaster and lath walls. Didn't realize that I could have just sheetrocked right over them. Nope. So here's me and Britt hammering. Yeah. No, the windows don't even open. So I don't know if you know that the dust that those kick up. Oh my God, I'm talking that dust was in every orifice for years. I couldn't get that bad boy out. So we got all that, and I'm like, yeah. So I got.
So things were a problem. You realized once you owned the house how little you really knew about the practical part of getting this stuff done. I know you tell some stories at the mastermind, the window story about them being, the rain and the windows swelling and they were too tight and you had to use the Dremel. And I mean, I know it seemed like everything was an issue. But you guys, fast forward now, it took you how many weeks to finish this thing?
We bought it in December, and I think we got it done once we actually let a professional step in. He had literally the house, I think, done in maybe a week and a half. So, I mean, we had that whole learning process before finally, tapped out.
Right.
And I think we listed it in March.
Okay. So 3 months.
Yeah.
And something that if you'd hired, and that's why so many, now you hire stuff out. You don't, I mean, your best time spent is talking to sellers, finding deals, negotiating deals. Absolutely. Let the painters and the window installers do their thing with their best.
Well, remember too, I was at that point, I was still terrified to talk to people.
Right.
So I was too afraid to even say, hey, can you paint my house or any of that? I was afraid to walk into Lowe's and say, how do you measure a kitchen?
Yeah.
I knew I had the people that I worked with, and that was the only people I wasn't terrified to go and talk to.
Yeah.
So
mistake after mistake, 3 months later, it's finished, it's listed, you got a contract. How long did it take you to get a contract?
Oh, I think it was under contract in about a week.
Okay. And you closed. So how did the numbers turn out? You had
can you hear that? You can't hear that, right?
Like a plane.
Yeah. So we spent, it was like 28,000, 500, somewhere around there, 500 or 800.
Right.
On the rehab, and we wound up making 30. So we bought it for 55. We're all in about 80, 85 plus a little opening costs, and it sold for 140.
Okay.
So minus closing costs and all that, we were about 30 grand.
Okay. So and the important part of this is a lot of things can go wrong and it still work out very right because you bought it right to begin with. You had an allowance for mistakes and that sort of thing. But the biggest thing about the success is the proof of concept. You can do this and make money. So now this happened when? How long ago was this?
That was right before kind of COVID shut everything down. So what was that, 2020?
So 3 years ago. So 3 years ago. And you've been a full-time investor now for how long?
Since right after that, because what happened is that house closed and immediately, COVID shut down New Jersey. So I worked in the transportation business. So that shut down that job. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to go be an investor.
Right.
And then I sat on the couch for 3 months and did nothing that entire summer.
Right.
And no, I'm sorry. It wasn't even 3 months. It was whatever it was. It was right at the beginning of that summer. We were watching Bahamas Life and we're like, I'm already an investor. I'm an investor and entrepreneur. I can do this. I can flip houses anywhere.
Right.
So me and Britt pack up, roll out, move to Florida because I'm not a mechanic anymore. I flip houses.
That's right.
Whole nother learning curve right there because you actually have to know the market to flip a house in there. You have to know somebody there. We literally know not a single person. And it took moving down here. I mean, I really got slapped in the face there. I was like, man, I don't know if I'm even cut out for this. I just ruined somebody's life, moved them all the way 1,000 miles away from anything we knew, anybody we knew. And I don't even know how to buy a house down here. I don't know what's a good number, what's a bad number. And, throughout that period, people were making up prices. So it wasn't like you could literally even get a gauge on what to do, let alone, you already have those doubts as far as negotiating, as far as talking to sellers, understanding how much a rehab actually costs, any of that stuff.
Right.
So there were some sleepless nights in there, just, thinking that I'd wasted all this time, all this money. We sold the house in New Jersey, so we had no place to go home to. We were, oh man, it was bad. So finally, I was working with a coach that, turned out to be useful. I learned a lot from him.
Right.
And it took me about I want to say about 6 months before it was a dabbling and let my fear like kind of hold me back, because I had enough to like kind of scrape by to get me to that 6 months. I get there and I'm like, I got to do this. So I mean, it was either I'm an investor or, we run out of, time.
It takes some time to get acclimated to a new market, because, the news can talk about all they want to about real estate's up, real estate's down, there's low inventory, there's too much inventory, but it's very local, and it's different from one place to the next. It really
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. Huge difference.
But we know that if you can generate leads, then you can buy houses. That's the key right there. Getting out there, finding people that need what you have to offer. So what are you doing right now to generate leads? What are your best sources of leads?
Right now, even this past month, we finally got out and put together a little packet for the foreclosures.
Right.
And because foreclosures are skyrocketing in the, not so much like right central where like I live, but we also work in another part in was that northwest Florida. That is, I mean, it's incredible. We literally have gotten 2 deals under contract in about 3 weeks.
Right.
3 weeks of doing it. And that's been the best. So it's literally door knocking on the foreclosures, pulling straight off the county website, nothing fancy.
Right.
Driving there and knocking on the door, giving them information if they don't want to talk about it right now, leaving our number and saying, hey, listen, I'm here to help. I'm not here to steal your house. And, reminding ourselves that it's not about us, and we're there to talk to people. And the more people that we talk to and remind that we're helping them, and that we can help them, the better chance we have of getting deals.
For sure.
So that's been amazing. Consistently, it's been, I send out these, they're really offers, but they're kind of fake checks. They're usually high because, they're based off of a house that's fully rehabbed and the comps in the area. So they get people to call, and that's really all that we need. If we're not talking to people, we're not doing deals. So those go out to the pre-foreclosures. And then I have cold callers that they give us a few leads a week. But the door knocking, oh my God, it's anybody that asks me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's our primary lead source right now, that and radio. And we went out this past weekend and knocked on 16 doors, and that day got 2 leads, got 1 under contract that day, and we're in conversation with 3 others right now, just out of that 16.
Absolutely.
So, the numbers, if you have the courage to knock on the door, you're going to be so far ahead of everybody else. So,
and it really, and the people and everybody's worried about, people being angry. This lady, and I have somebody else that's doing the door knocking for me that's been in, sales forever. So, I mean, he's already really kind of good at selling. So not many people are going to have the same success, but all he's doing is getting them on the phone. And the lady literally thanked him. She said, thank you so much for knocking on the door. I had this letter sitting on my desk. It took me 3 months to even open it because I knew it was the next step in the foreclosure. Thank you so much for even offering me a hand. Now, this is a lady that's gotten called from us, that's gotten mail from us, didn't open anything.
Right.
And she signed the contract the same day. I think I had actually probably the next day.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that need our help. And if you legitimately want to help them, if you can, and there are ways you can help, you can offer them solutions if they want to keep their house, and they, it's going to be up to the bank to approve it. But you're there as, a safety net if they can't keep it, and keep them from losing everything. So that's super important. Okay, so you generate your leads primarily with foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, and your mailings. Do you have any favorite tools that you like to use in your business? As far as behind the scenes or anything that make your life easier?
I love Finish Screen. I mean, honestly, Allie's Finish Screen system is super easy, and we're kind of working on integrating kind of different workspaces. So that way, I'm on like 3 to 4 different markets, and we're working on kind of separating it. And, each one of my partners can go in and just work on, the deals that they're working on, instead of getting confused with a property from, Alabama compared to a property over in the Central Florida.
Right.
They don't need to even see that because it's just more confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So we do that, and I love the county websites. I mean,
Yeah.
shoot, you can't go wrong with county websites.
You know,
I'm hoping the radio takes off, so that'll be.
Yeah. People talk about buying lists all the time, and I say create your own, the most up-to-date information. People getting divorces, people with mechanics liens, people that are behind on their taxes, people that are in foreclosure. It is, people with code enforcement problems. It is all right there, usually for free, filed up to the minute. I mean, it happened yesterday. It's on the website today. Forget buying those lists. You need to get on the county website.
Yeah, exactly. And you're pulling the county websites. You're there before the list. The list
That's right.
service gets it. And the way I look at it too is like I spend probably, because I'm not the best on a computer, I'm not fast on a computer. Shoot, my keyboard doesn't even have an M on it, and it hasn't since it's been brand new. And I've just refused to go and get that because I ain't good enough to be on the computer for it to make a difference, right? So, I mean, I spend probably 2 days at the end of every month pulling that month's pre-foreclosures because our process takes a little bit. So I have that. Some states don't, but I spend 2 days. And the way I look at it is I have to put in 15-hour days, 2 days a month. I sit on a computer doing something I don't like. So that way the rest of the month I can go out and talk to people.
Right.
It's just, and I could probably do it. Like, I think you guys pull it 2-3 times a week.
Well, we pull the county list every single week because we door knock every week. We go out on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. One of those 3 days, we go out door knocking for the 2 counties that we do.
Yeah. So how quick is your foreclosure process, though? Is your foreclosure process fast there?
60 to 90 days.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, the majority of mine are like 6 months before they're actually foreclosed.
Right. There's several months there. And it's going to vary depending on where you are. If you're in Texas or Georgia, you got less than 30 days. So, you have to act pretty quickly on that. So you need to know what your process is there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. So I have that luxury of, pulling them once a month. And I know that if these people respond, they're most not likely not responding until the next month or two. But I'm the first one in their mind when they go to respond.
Right. So that finished green that Ryan's talking about, it's a CRM that tracks your leads and it keeps you in touch with them. It'll do texting for you. It'll do some automated stuff. And you can check that out at sub2crm.com. That's SUB2crm.com. You can look at the one that he uses, and we use it as well. We use it in our business. It works very well for us. So, Ryan, give us an example of a deal that you're working on right now. Tell us about it, how you found it, the seller situation, your anticipated profit. What's going on right now?
So I have 2 that are closing in the next month or so that are both, one's kind of a clean cut. We knocked on her door. She pretty much started crying immediately. Thank you guys for helping. She was a pre-foreclosure. Had gotten a court date, not for an auction or anything like that, but just a court date to appear in court June 12th. That one's a decent rehab. I mean, it probably needs 60-70 grand. And we say, hey, listen, I think her name was Diana or something like that. What are you looking for? What can we help you with? She said, I can't take the stress of this house. Can we just not have this house, be a foreclosure? I said, yeah, absolutely. Do you need help moving your stuff? What's your plan? She has a daughter and the daughter's boyfriend live in this house with her. And she said, I'm done with them. I've taken care of them as much as I can. I just need to get out of this house. I just want a nice little 1-bedroom apartment. If I have to get it, maybe a 2-bedroom. I make plenty of money. Can you just help me find another place? So absolutely. Yeah. How much do you owe on the mortgage? Well, I owe about $85,000. That's what the attorney's letter says. That's really, I don't need any money. I make plenty of money. Just trying to save this house has really ran me dry.
Right.
So cool. So how's 90,000 sound? Just, in case any other attorney's fees come up. Does 90 work? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we signed the contract for her at 90,000. And it took us, this is one that we wholesaling because number one, on the other side of the state. It's up in near Alabama. So
right.
I didn't feel like getting into a bigger rehab. It's nothing major,
Sure.
but I mean, roof, rewire, and on top of a regular rehab, it can get, it'd be a pain managing a rehab that far,
Right.
especially that big. So it took us, I want to say maybe a week before we found a buyer. And that was because, we threw it out there I think we threw this thing out there for like $170,000 because figured it would weed out the majority of the bad wholesalers. And, we'd actually talk to a couple of our real buyers about it. And they would, of course, bust on us for putting it out that high. But we wound up having a guy come in and, we sold it we assigned it for 130, closing in, I think it's closing in another week. And we're in the process of helping this lady get another place.
Right.
We have a whole bunch of realtors looking out for her. Plus I'm calling, still calling, trying to help her get an apartment right there.
Right. So after closing costs, you guys will make about $35,000 probably.
Yeah, we don't have to pay closing costs. We're at 40 because we're wholesaling it. So we just assigned it for a flat $40,000.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a great wholesale deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the lady's getting maybe a tiny bit of money. She's getting all of her costs covered. She's getting exactly what she wants, and you guys are making a profit too. How much time you got in that deal?
I think I've spent maybe an hour total calling, and a couple text messages, answered back and forth, and then back and forth my negotiating to get our buyer up $3,000 took longer than actually closing the deal and walking him through there. Right. That was really about it. So we don't have much time at all.
Yeah. So that's a better hourly rate than being a mechanic.
You ain't kidding. Where we thought $25 was a lot.
Right. Well, you guys are doing a few of those deals a month, aren't you?
Yeah. We actually have one that closed today where the lady was the same thing. This seller was, she was a handful. This lady came from the cold caller. She screamed at my cold caller. She screamed at me. She screamed at the person who went on the appointment. When they were there signing the contract, she was about to fist fight her ex-husband. And then we had to be your counselor for, I think it was like 3 weeks before we closed on that one. And finally got the closing today. And that one we made, I think that was 23,000. Yeah. Cause we helped out and we brought in another brand new wholesaler that asked us, how can I help? How can I work with you? Right. And brought us a buyer. So, he got a little bit of money out of that deal. And he made $3,000 and he's running, I think, 2 separate businesses and something like that. He was like, how hard I got to work to make $3,000 and this is what you do? Right. I was like, yeah, it's literally just talking to people. Yeah. So, and then we have another one under contract where we should be going to get the keys out. And then I have another fun deal that I turned a deal that I was going to walk from into. It's kind of creative. I wanted to pick this one up. This was going to be my first sub-2 that I was going to actually keep. Seller was on board with it. It was a pre-foreclosure. And they got called from the fake checks. And I get there and a cash price I want to say they owed $193, $195. These people hadn't been able to afford this house for roughly 3 years. Right. So they really hadn't paid a mortgage payment at all. And they walked me through the whole story about, they tried this and tried that and tried to go through a loan mod their own self while all the COVID programs were in place to help them keep the house. But they took care of the house pretty decently. So I was like, cool, I'll keep this one and it'll rent really nice. And we go through, they were like $55,000 behind, plus it needed a light rehab. Yeah. On 100 and their original mortgage was $185,000. I was like, that's rough. A lot, yeah. Yeah. So I call somebody that does loan mods, get them to call and see what kind of our scenarios are. It wound up not working out because, the numbers just didn't work with what the bank was offering was to refi the whole loan at 7%. It just wouldn't work. So I go back to, I'm like, listen, I don't know really what else you want me to do, but as far as, just a quick cash purchase, it just can't happen. I need this house at like $165,000, $175,000 to really make work. Yeah. They were like, you could see the lady just crying again and again, every time calling me. Cause a lot of people, again, in this business forget that we're there to help these people. Right. And she probably had 10, 15 people, I'm guessing, come in and just say, all right, see you, and not actually listen to what they needed help with.
Right.
So then I say, there's another way that I can actually help you, but we're going to have to work as an actual team.
Mm-hmm.
Are you good with that? It's going to be a lot of work on your end, but it'll get you guys a check. It'll get you guys some money, enough money to move on. Are you guys okay with that? Oh, thank you so much. Oh my God, whatever we got to do. What do you need me to do? I don't care what we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready for it. Everybody, when you're helping when that first, as soon as you tell them you're going to help them and they're ready to go, they are full of piss and vinegar. They are ready to rock and roll, do everything. Turns out, we signed a contract at 217, which gave them, they're walking with, roughly about $22,000-ish after their portion of the closing costs.
Right.
So they knew that that's what they're getting no matter what. And we signed some other novation paperwork saying that, they know that I'm not the end buyer, that all I'm doing is I'm helping them sell it.
Right.
And we signed the paperwork, immediately get the bathroom in. I needed a new bathroom and put, I think I wound up spending $15,000, somewhere around there. I think we're up at, like $16,000 on the rehab right now. And I mean, these people were great. He went out, he switched all the covers on everything. He's wiping down the baseboards.
Mm-hmm.
He was running back and forth to Lowe's and Home Depot to pick up supplies if I needed it.
Right.
Taking care of the house, everything, helping out with the showings. And we got that bad boy under contract in less than 24 hours for $292.
Right.
So, I mean, that's been amazing. That was a cool thing. So we'll walk with, I want to say like just under 40.
Right.
thousand, and they get to walk with $30,000.
Right.
And I didn't have to go through a whole closing process. I didn't have to do anything, but I actually partnered on because I, taking that time to listen.
Right. And cash buyers can't compete with that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They come in, they offer. Yeah, that's right. But this turned into a win for everybody.
Yeah. So. And that's why I'm still always grateful that I found your guys' group. Because I mean, you put me a year ago, I would have never even thought of that. I just would have walked.
Right. That's great. So Ryan, tell me now, you were in Florida a couple of years ago. You were new there. You'd done one deal in New Jersey. You were full of self-doubt about your decision to move to Florida. Now you're doing multiple deals a month. So if you could, let me ask you this, if you could give new investors that are just getting started any advice, what would it be?
Don't overthink, or just don't think in general. Talk to people.
Yeah.
You're never going to have everything figured out. I think I talked to a seller a day that asked me some question where I'm like, yeah, I don't know that question. And I just say, listen, I got somebody else smarter than me that I can call, and I have no problem calling me. If that question is going to keep you from moving forward, I'm happy to help. Right. And, my thing is, I always say, I'm not smart enough to know that I shouldn't be doing it. So if you are sitting there overthinking everything, just, I mean, think about if it was your parents on the other end of that door or that call, and they were losing their house. Right. And all it took was somebody like you reaching out to them and saying, I'm here to help. And don't be afraid to not know. Yeah. Yeah. You can't help everybody, but there are a certain percentage of people out there that need you. Some people have it figured out. Some people are going to fix it. Some people are going to let it go to the auction, and it doesn't matter what you say. We beat our heads against the wall numerous times with people that let it go to the auction. You can't save those people, but for the people that really do want some help, you're offering them a solution that maybe other investors couldn't. So it's important to get out there and try to do that. Yeah, for sure. Well, man, we really appreciate you coming on today and telling your story. I know when we were at the mastermind and I heard you tell your story of your first deal, man, I got to have you on here to talk about that, because not only did you have the courage to step out there and try that first thing, which the vast majority of people don't, even when it didn't go so smoothly, you just kept after it. You and your wife, you had her support, and that's great. A lot of people don't get that, but having somebody behind you that believes in you and everything. So, man, and what else too helped a lot when I even before, I was too scared to actually go out and talk to people. I went and I hung around investors until I felt like it. Right. Like when I was in Jersey, just starting out, before even the first flip, I never heard of a REIA. I've never heard of meetups. I never heard of where you're actually going to meet somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I just went and I sat in a room. I don't think I talked to anybody for the first, 2 months before somebody came up and just talked to me and said, hey, I seen you around here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? What's your name? And you just start to learn, and even if you're still full of the doubt and whether I can do it or not, just go and hang out around the people.
Right.
And that's what kind of clicked in me. Like, hey, listen, these are just normal people too. There's nothing special about anybody that buys houses. It's just what they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a huge thing.
They just love real estate. They're the same people. They just love real estate and have figured something out that a lot of other people haven't yet. But I think you and I both are examples. If we can do it, anybody can do it.
Absolutely.
Your story is very similar to mine. You did different things. I was in the restaurant business, but I quit school in the 9th grade. Okay. So, I didn't go to college. I didn't even get a high school diploma. I just knew how to work really hard, to barely make it. And I just decided I was tired of barely making it. I wanted more. And that Carlton Sheets commercial came on at 2:00 in the morning. And I said, man, those palm trees were swaying. And I said, I want some of that. So and for $3.95, I can have it. So I dial the number and order the course, and boom, there it was. And you're right. Those first few deals, man, they're a little scary, but if you can get past that, you'll probably be okay.
Absolutely. And then I remember too, it was like I say, I think it was on Bigger Pockets, where everyone was like, once you get that first one, as soon as you get that first one, then you'll either be a real investor or a real estate investor, or you won't be. And you're like, I just got to get that first one. I did that first one, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this, but let me try a second one, because I wasn't smart enough to say no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know what hard work is. I can do the hard work. Just like you, we know how to work hard. We don't know how to get the reward.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's where, another hold up, that's why I'm a big Tony Robbins guy. And, his big thing is always, get in your head and you're dead. As soon as we start worrying about what we're doing, what we're thinking, we're not paying attention to anybody that we can help. Like I bought my first flip down here from a guy at a bar that I had been to, I don't even know how many times, because we used to go to the beach, watch the sunset, and go eat at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Never saw this guy, never really told anybody that I was buying, that I bought houses. And first person I did, that's a not podcast story, but I can tell that one. That one's a funny story about how I bought that one, but went and signed a contract the next day.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate you sharing your story, and looking forward to the next mastermind in September.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Okay, guys, that is it for this episode of the Sub2Deals Show. We appreciate you joining us today. We appreciate Ryan Gallagher for joining us from down there in Tampa. If you're down in the Tampa area, look him up. He's down there making deals, making stuff happen. Don't forget, subscribe to us at sub2tv.com. That's our YouTube channel. We release videos almost every day over there, something you can learn about creative finance and Sub2. And if you want to join our group that Ryan's a member of, and we've got dozens of other successful investors, at the last mastermind, I did the math, and I realized that over 85% of the people that are members of Sub2 Max and come to our masterminds are active full-time real estate investors. That's an incredible number, an incredible success percentage. So check us out at sub2max.com. So guys, until our next episode, get out there, talk to some sellers, and buy some houses.